What's going on, gardeners? It's Friday, January 21st, 2022, and I'm going to break format today and give you a longer form video because there is something very rare happening right now. We're in the middle of an ice storm here on the southeastern coast of North Carolina. Events like this with frozen precipitation only happen here about once or twice every decade. In fact, the last time we had frozen precipitation like this was back in January 2018, and I'll never forget it because it was right after I moved here. We had a very rare event where we got snow and freezing rain. So I want to take this opportunity to take you through my entire garden, show you what I still have growing on, and also show you all of my sensitive fruit trees and what I'm doing to protect them so hopefully they make it through this ice storm with little to no damage. The first thing that you'll notice is that all of my container fig trees that are normally outside here in my garden, they have all been moved, and that's because the freezing rain and the ice can really do a whole lot of damage. And I moved them over here to the east wall of my house where they get a little bit of protection from my soffit, and then I have a tarp placed over them to try and keep the freezing rain off, and then through the tarp I have some 3/8 inch rebar that I've pushed through the grommets, and that is kind of holding a roof over them. You can see all of the ice that is starting to form. You can hear the ice hitting the tarp. It is everywhere, and we're supposed to get down to about 24 degrees tonight, so it's going to freeze through, no doubt, but everything underneath should be protected from the freezing rain itself. So hopefully that will help mitigate the damage from the freezing rain. We're going to have really cold temperatures for probably the next 10 days or so, so I'm going to leave them here and let the radiative heat of the house kind of protect them a little bit. Then over here we have all of my bananas, which were beautiful when I did my garden tour a couple of months ago before the frosts and freezes hit. Now they are all killed back, but they are protected with straw, so they will grow back at least from the bottoms of the plant come the winter, come the spring. Looks like we're going to have a really bad winter, so the protection is going to mean everything. Then I have my in-ground fig trees right here. I have mostly pruned them for cuttings, and I haven't completely pruned them, but I did take off all of the smallest diameter wood in advance of this really cold weather in hopes that the larger, more hardened off wood will be able to withstand these really cold temperatures. You're starting to see the effects of the freezing rain right here. It is all collecting on the fig wood. You can actually see some ice that is forming. That should be a water droplet, but it is frozen through. So hopefully these in-ground fig trees survive with minimal damage. I'm sure I'm going to get some dieback with these really cold temperatures. I'm leaving these fig trees sitting out here because they are on my cull list. I'm going to get rid of them, so I don't really care what happens to them. And then I have my little garden trellis tower that I built. Everything inside the containers is long since dead. I will reuse those containers next season and repurpose them. I have some strawberry plants here that I've grown from bare root, actually from runners from my strawberries, and they will be fine in this cold. They survive to like 20 degrees below zero, so that is absolutely no problem for them. Same thing with my strawberry bed over here. All of these strawberries will be completely fine. There is no chance of any of them taking damage. Then over here I have my Owari Satsuma tree, which is covered to protect it from the ice. Same thing with my Lila avocado. Same thing with my Meyer lemon. You can see the lights are on underneath to hopefully keep them warm. And then over here I have other less desirable fig trees that I'm not as interested in protecting, that I just have under the protection of the soffit of my house. Now let's walk into my garden, and this is how bad things get when you get an ice storm. I actually had to cover my lettuce and my cilantro and parsley because it can take damage. And oh no, my tarp actually just blew off my crucifer bed, which has all of my my cabbage and my broccoli and my kale. That has to be covered real quick. This is inherently the problem with bad weather. It rarely comes with calm conditions. You get these once every 5-year storms, and it comes with a lot of wind. So now I repaired this bed. I have the tarp back on, Everything else is mostly covered. And just look at the icing on this hoop house right here. You can hear it. Listen to that. Look at that. It's completely fracturing. That is not something I've seen but once here where I live. Let's try that again. Really something. Completely frozen through. That is terrifying. Now we have this other kale. This kale is 1.5 years old, and I think the kale should survive this just fine. But you can see just all of the icing all over that kale. That is incredible. And of course, all of the garlic I have planted will be fine. So will the carrots, things like that. No big deal there. Seeing how bad that icing on my hoop house is, I wonder if it's doing the same thing to my trees here. And yeah, there's freezing there as well, which really has me concerned about how much damage things like my avocado are going to take. So, unfortunately, with events like this, you just can't control the weather. My deciduous trees, like my non-astringent persimmon and my 2 pawpaws right here, they are sound asleep for the winter. They are cold hardy enough that this will be no challenge to them, but I am concerned about my young citrus hedge that I planted back here that I showed you on my last garden tour. And luckily they're under this canopy of trees right here, so that helps protect them from the freezing rain a little bit. But I have those water barrels under here, as well as the tarp to help protect them. And because of the heat of the water barrels, there's actually no freezing rain on here. So that goes to show you just how effective those water barrels are. So we will hopefully see no damage on the cold hardy citrus under here. My raspberries and blackberries will of course see no damage at all from this event. Neither will my grape that I have planted right here. This will sail through with no challenge at all. One of my biggest risks will be my first year fig trees that I espaliered that are getting covered in freezing rain as we speak. There is a good chance that a lot of them will take some sort of damage, so I may have to reestablish new cordons in the springtime when they come back to life. I have never had to protect a palm tree before, but this is my Canary Island date palm. It is my most cold sensitive of my palm trees. Mature ones can take somewhere down to about 18 degrees or so, which is actually our low forecast for tomorrow. So it's going to deal with this freezing rain, and it's going to test its limits of its low. So I have all of this icing happening on this tarp, so I can at least keep it out of the freezing rain. And then down here I have a 175 watt light strand of C9 lights on it that will help keep the core warm. So hopefully that will keep this tree alive. Then I have other palms like this Windmill Palm that hopefully will make it through unscathed. These are very hardy palms that can take down to the single digits. They should be okay through this, but we did get a bad ice storm back in January of 2018, and some of these Windmill Palm species did take a little bit of damage, believe it or not. And then I have all of my blueberries on the east side of my house. What is really scary is we had such a mild December that a lot of my blueberries are actually starting to flower. So while a blueberry plant itself is hardy down to near Arctic temperatures and can take really severe freezes, I am concerned that they flowered so early, because if the flowers are killed, I will not get fruit off of the blueberry the next season, which would just be a tragedy. Then I have my feijoa, my pineapple guava right here. That should not be any challenge in this weather. They're hardy to about 8 degrees Fahrenheit or so. And then over here I have my last few Rabbiteye blueberries, and they have started to bud as well. I hope that the buds aren't too far along and that they don't get killed by this terrible weather. And then last but not least, my most cold sensitive plants are in my garage. Things like my key lime, things like my blood orange back here, things like my coffee plant, things like my overwintered pepper from 2 years ago. So all of these plants hopefully will stay warm enough in the garage. Hopefully my garage won't freeze through, because I have some really bad temperatures coming over the next few days. And then last but not least, my figs that I'm growing for my fig breeding experiment, and then other things like my basil plant, some early season tomatoes, my fig cuttings, my onion starts. They are all inside by the south facing patio door, where it is the safest place to be. Boy, oh boy, did we get a lot of ice and sleet last night. I haven't seen frozen precipitation like this here in over 4 years. The ice and snow is all over the tarps that I'm using for protection, but the tarps did work. Even the plant jackets that I have covering up my sensitive fruit trees are frozen solid. That is solid ice. Wow. Same thing with my other trees. And in my garden, the tarps are covered with a thick layer of ice. Really some extreme weather here for where I live. Very rare event. And I am going to end this garden tour right there because that is about all I can muster. I am frozen through. It is completely freezing out and I'm starting to get frostbite on my fingers, so I just can't hold that camera and do it any longer. So I really hope you enjoyed this garden tour on this pretty rare weather event down here in southeastern North Carolina around the Wilmington area. If you did like this tour, please make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell so you're notified when we release more videos like these. And if you'd like to know any of the things I use in my garden, please check it out in my Amazon storefront, linked in the video description. Also, while you're there, check out my spread shop if you'd like to purchase any custom merchandise and support the channel. Thank you all again so much for watching this video, and I hope to see all of you again on a warmer day for the next video. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell to receive new video notifications, and check out our Amazon storefront and spread shop in the video description for a list of the gardening products I use and awesome custom designed apparel and other gear. Your support is greatly appreciated.